I think most film fans would agree that this book here is an essential one for any film book library. In case you're not familiar with it, this is Hitchcock Truffaut, and it's a series of interviews French film director François Truffaut did with Alfred Hitchcock starting in 1962. Excellent book. It's an interview format, goes film by film, lots of great photos, including behind the scene photos. So highly recommended. I'm well versed in Hitchcock and his films. I've read a lot about him, took a course in him. I think I've seen all of his films. I'm not that well versed in the films of Truffaut. In fact, as I was getting this episode ready, I realized the disc I'm going to talk about today is the first Truffaut film that I've ever bought. I have seen some of his films like Day for Night and The 400 Blows and Jules and Jim back in the day at revival houses. Remember those? Those are theaters that would just show a film each night, usually a neglected film or a foreign film or an art film. And that's back in the 70s and 80s, end of high school, beginning of college, where I discovered foreign films and art films. And that's where I saw the Truffaut films. But this is all to say that this brings us to today's episode. This is the Kazdoy Closet. I'm Kazdoy. That's my closet, full of all the stuff that I love. And today, a Truffaut film that I've always heard was an homage to Alfred Hitchcock's films. But is it really? Let's check it out. Today's film is The Bride Wore Black from 1968. 1 hour, 47 minutes long, in color, in French, with English subtitles. This is about a bride's husband who is shot and killed just as the two of them leave the church on their wedding day, and she makes it her mission to get revenge on the killer or killers. Let me say right now, there might be some spoilers in here, so just be aware of that. Jean Moreau plays the bride. Such an interesting actress. I've spoken about her before. She's been in Jules and Jim, the great noir Elevator to the Gallows, and a film called The Train, very good film, which I did an episode on. You can check that out. As I mentioned, François Truffaut is the director. The 400 Blows was actually his first feature film, which is pretty impressive for a first feature. This one comes in between his films Fahrenheit 451 and Stolen Kisses. Now, Fahrenheit 451, people seem to forget that's part of his filmography. I really love that film. I think it's mostly because I read the book back in the 6th grade, loved it, and then later on I saw the film over and over again, loved that. And then when I was teaching science fiction literature in high school, I would use the novel and then I would use the Truffaut film, and I really think it holds up. I think it's underrated in his filmography. You might also recognize Truffaut. He acted actually in the Close Encounters of the Third Kind film by Spielberg. He was a French scientist in that film. So as far as this being Hitchcockian, there are a few connections to some Hitchcock films. I think mainly the music, which is by Bernard Herrmann, one of the greatest composers ever, I think, as far as film music goes. And he composed music for great films, including Citizen Kane. But as far as the Hitchcock goes, he did the music for Vertigo, North by Northwest, the great Psycho classic soundtrack, and Marnie. The other connection with Hitchcock is the source material is by Cornell Woolrich, somebody I've also spoken about before. And he also provided the source material for Hitchcock's film Rear Window, which I would argue is one of his best films, of course. He also provided material for some of Hitchcock's television shows and for several great film noirs. So where the Hitchcock connection fails, I think, is ironically with the music. Because Bernard Herrmann, as much as I love him, he doesn't have a light touch, really. And his music can be quite ominous and heavy. And in this film, it doesn't always match or sink in with what's going on the screen. For example, you might see a woman walking her young child by the hand innocently to school, and the music is really ominous and heavy-handed, and it's like, it kind of throws you off. It's like, why is this music playing with this seemingly normal, actually totally normal thing happening. It turns out, in fact, that Truffaut himself was not happy with the soundtrack. The other thing I think that fails as far as this being a Hitchcockian film is a lot of Hitchcock's typical themes in his films. Like many artists, he uses the same themes over and over again, sort of like variations on a theme, you might say. And some of those themes include the double, how people have a double. Think of Psycho, for example, or Strangers on a Train. The wrong man being accused. I mean, he made a film called The Wrong Man with Henry Fonda. The gentleman killer. I guess you could say Jean Moreau in here is kind of the gentle lady killer, but not really. And then the hidden evil behind everything. Think about like The Birds, where the birds suddenly turn on people, nobody knows why. Now, the Hitchcockian connection does relate and apply in a few areas, but I think really superficially. Again, the music, even though I just kind of disregarded how the music fits with this film, while you're watching the film, you can't but help but think of Hitchcock films because it's so reminiscent of so many soundtracks in Hitchcock films that you think about that right away. There are also a few shades of Vertigo in here. The way that Jean Moreau is photographed sometimes, and one of the killers tries to recreate her by changing her hair and changing her outfits. So that reminded me of the Kim Novak, Jimmy Stewart relationship in the film Vertigo. And there are some silent, suspenseful set pieces in this one as well that Hitchcock was so proficient in doing. But honestly, I didn't watch this thinking this is really a Hitchcockian film. I think maybe some of Brian De Palma's films are a little more Hitchcockian than this one, to be honest. The bride in here is a good anti-hero. We want her to get revenge on these guys. And near the end, she even says, look, you know, when my husband died on our wedding day, I died the same day. So she doesn't care. She's going for broke. We know what she's doing, what she's going after. Nobody else in the film knows. And she's laying specific traps that are connected to the specific guys responsible for her husband's murder. And just to get us to sympathize even more with her in this film, the 5 men who are the guilty parties are all like totally unsympathetic. They're womanizers, they're sexual predators, they're misogynistic, they're liars. So honestly, we don't really care if they get killed. We kind of want them to get their retribution. This was also an influence on Quentin Tarantino's film Kill Bill. I haven't seen that film in a long time, so I don't know how specific it is, but generally the Uma Thurman character in that film is called simply the bride, and she's getting revenge for the guys that killed her husband in that film. The difference in that film is, you know, of course it's a Tarantino film, so it's a whole different tone and style. But the 5 guys in that film responsible for killing the bride's husband are like professional gangsters or assassins. These are hardcore guys. And the guys in this film, spoiler alert again, the 5 guys, they happen to be in a hotel room across from the church where this bride is getting married. And they're just messing around. They're drinking, so they're kind of drunk and they're messing around. One guy has a rifle and like just goofing around like an idiot. He points it out the window and it almost accidentally goes off and kills the groom. Now how she, unless I missed it, how she knew these 5 guys were responsible, because they were 5 random guys and no connection to her at all. How she knew who they were and how she tracked them down. Maybe I missed it, but that's kind of a question mark how that worked. At any rate, my rating for The Bride Wore Black, I'm going to give this one 4 brides out of 5. I found it engrossing, quite entertaining. Jean Moreau is an interesting actress. She's not the typical glamorous actress. She's not really pretty, but she's got such an interesting face, and you're wondering what's going on behind there. She frowns a lot, which is interesting. Anyway, she draws you in, I think, and makes you care about her. And the direction's quite good as well. So what's on this disc? This is a Radiance disc. It is Region B. There's a booklet in here, which is about 32 pages long. I wasn't that impressed with it, to be honest with you. Most of the booklet is reproducing letters that Truffaut sent to Hitchcock. I found it mildly interesting. I didn't get any real insight on the film from the booklet. The artwork, this is kind of an interesting artwork here. It's kind of abstract. I don't know if you can see the tagline on the top or not, but let me open it up and show you the other artwork that's available. So there's the optional reversible artwork. It's a little more straightforward, and it says, "The 5 men who killed the groom made one mistake. They should have killed the bride." And so there's the other artwork there for you. There are 4 features on this disc, ranging in length from 15 minutes to 5 minutes. It includes a making of the film, little feature, something about the author, Cornell Woolrich, and then some archival interviews with Truffaut and Moreau. So where can you see The Bride Wore Black? Well, you can rent it. You can buy it. This one, they only make about 1,500 copies of this, so there might be a few left. But Kino also makes their own version of The Bride Wore Black, which is probably $10 cheaper. And when it's on sale, you might be able to get it for $10 total. So I don't know what's on that disc, but that's another option should you want to buy this disc. So otherwise, feel free to leave a comment or suggestion down below here. I would like to thank the following people who have left comments since our last episode. They include Tina, Michael, Chris, Sid, Adrian, and Martin. Thank you so much for commenting on one of our episodes. Feel free to leave a thumbs up. Don't leave a thumbs down. Subscribe would be great. Share this with your friends and neighbors. Please help me welcome our 2 new subscribers since our last episode. That includes Adrian and Luca Zach Forever. Hey, thank you so much for taking the time to subscribe. We're getting very close to our next goal of 525 subscribers. Feel free to subscribe. It's free. Also free as we're on Letterboxd, where we leave short written reviews of other things we're watching. We just posted reviews of Infinity Pool and something else which I can't remember. But check that out. We're there under the Kazdoy closet, and there's a link in the notes down below. Thank you so much for watching. Appreciate it. See you next time.